Together, growing in faith, changing communities.
Ngigama likaYisebe nendodana nomoya ocebileyo. And so today we are going to reflect on the Gospel of Luke chapter 5. We're going to start reflecting from verse 17. And I ask Uguti, we invite as many friends as possible, colleagues, family members, those that you think will benefit from being with us, that you invite them to come and join us. This is just us trying to find the word for today and live by that word. And so today we are reflecting on this beautiful word. The other day we were reflecting on Jesus leading them into the deep. And these beautiful words, at your word, I will lower the nets. At your word, I will lower the nets. And going back to this greatest realization that on my own, I can't do this. On my own, I will fail. On my own, I don't think I will make it. But with God on my side, we can do it. There's always this beautiful prayer. Though I walk in the shadow of death, I fear no evil. And I wish we can always pray this prayer for ourselves, for our children, especially when somebody comes to you and say, I don't think I'm okay. I don't think things are as good as I would like them to be. And always give them this beautiful prayer. Though I walk in the shadow of death, I fear no evil. Because, dear brothers and sisters, it has come to my greatest knowledge that a lot of us live in fear. A lot of us are controlled by fear. But then, there's no need for me to be fearful. There's no need for me to be petrified. There's no need for me to be terrified. There's no need for me to lose everything. So that paralyzing fear shouldn't be there. There are two kinds of fears. There's one that is good, that allows us, to be on our feet and to be, to know our game and to do the best we can. But there's also this one that is paralyzing fear, and it shouldn't be there. No. Why? Because God is with me. And God is within us. That beautiful phrase in the scriptures, God is within her heart. God is within his heart. I can do all things through him who strengthens me. Those are the beautiful words of St. Paul. And you realize that with God on our side, there's so much we can achieve. With God on our side, there's so much he can do for us, especially for those who are losing their faith, especially for those who are losing their faith in God, for those who are losing their faith in humanity, those who are losing their faith, especially from friends and from family, and sometimes within themselves, and say, well, why bother? Why bother? And I would like you to take that beautiful prayer that comes from Psalm 23. Though I walk in the shadow of death, I fear no evil. And so as you wake up in the morning, as you go to work, as you embark on the day, as you go to school, and whatever you are doing, and just tell yourself, though I walk in the shadow of death, I fear no evil. There's nothing that you must fear because God is on our side. But then today, dear friends, I would like us to reflect once again on Luke chapter 5, verse 17, from verse 17. So invite friends to be with us, to participate in this beautiful word that God has given us. So from verse 17 of the Gospel of Luke chapter 5. On one of those days, as Jesus was teaching, Pharisees and teachers of the law were sitting there. We had come from every village of Galilee and Judea and from Jerusalem. But the power of God was with him to heal. This is something very interesting that Luke brings in. That on this particular day, as Jesus was teaching, there are two groups of people that are there. The first one are the Pharisees, and the second one are the teachers of the law. And they were there from all over Jerusalem and Galilee. But they were there to see Jesus. They were from Judea, they were from Galilee, they were from Jerusalem. These are big shots. These are Pharisees, these are lawyers, the teachers of the law. And they're here to hear and to listen and possibly to criticize Jesus. But listen to this beautiful word. But the power of the Lord was with him to heal. Uthi obhala kahle ngelinye ilanga bheka sihaqwe isixuku sofakazi. In Hebrews chapter 12 verse 1 to 3. There's a crowd of witnesses. There are people from all over who are just watching you. You know, there's something that I want you to realize, that there are people who watch you. There are people who wait on you. There are people who are constantly putting you on surveillance. Either they themselves do it, or they bring people to do it, or somehow they are monitoring your life. And at least there are two types of people. There are those who are watching you because they believe in you. They're watching you because you inspire them. They watch you because they learn so much from you. They watch you because they envy you. They want to be like you in a very good way. So you are their role model. And sometimes you don't even know this. It could be kids, you know, who just want to grow up and be like you. It could be adults who are saying, how is it that you are holding everything together? How is it that you are smiling and laughing through it? How is it that you're still standing despite everything you've gone through? So there are people who watch you. There are people who surveillance, who look at you. They put you under their surveillance. There are people who just want to know, how are you doing it? And out of those, there are some who will have the courage to ask you and say, how have you made it? Give me the recipe. Give me the secret. And so there are people who watch you. There are people, please God, that you inspire. There are people, please God, that you have become a beacon of hope. And so they will always be around you. Some physically, but some emotionally. You know, there are people who says, we hardly talk, but I always keep tab of how you're doing and how your life has been, because in you, I have found a friend. In you, I have found a purpose. There are people in life, dear brothers and sisters, that you will meet, and others you probably will never meet. But whenever they think of you, there's something in you. Someone will probably say to you one day, I met you and you healed me. I met you and you saved me, because I was at the brink of suicide. I was in depression, but I met you. You know, I was invited to a friend. Somebody will say, I was invited by a friend and there was this party and you were there. And you were so great, you know, you were so full of life, and you laughed and you were teasing everyone and you were laughing and you made me laugh, which I hadn't done in a couple of months, which I hadn't done in years. There are people that by you being just yourself, you heal. There are people just by you being yourself, you inspire greatness in them. So there are people who look at you. There are people who look up to you. There are people who celebrate you silently. And thank God for those people. But thank God that you are able to do that for someone. Even though they may never come to you. And some you will probably never meet. Thank God for that. But equally important, there are people who watch over you. There are people who want you to be safe. There are people who want you to be protected. There are people who pray for your success. They don't want anything from you, but they want everything good for you. And there are people who will move mountains so that you are okay, so that you are at your best, so that you thrive, so that you are in your element and you give the best in your element. There are people who believe in you. There are people who can challenge you to be better than what you are, because they know and have tasted. And some of these are themselves great. And they can see themselves in you. And so you become their younger version. And so they will challenge you, but they will pray for you. They will place you before God. And sometimes we find people like that at work, in the field, in the community, in the family. and someone who just believes in you and who always brings the best. And sometimes we don't fully understand. Sometimes we misunderstand them. But as we grow older and wiser, we realize that that person groomed me. That person loved me. That person always wanted the best for me. They didn't want anything for themselves. I mean, they were already established. They were already comfortable in their element. They were already great in their field. And I was just coming in. And they exposed me to different things. They opened my mind and my heart to different things. And they only want you to become the best. So there are people like that, dear brothers and sisters. And for those people, we are grateful. For those people, we give thanks to God. And I'm grateful that they're there. And sometimes the training can be a little bit too hard. They will ask us questions. They will sit with us in the board and ask us difficult questions. Not because they want to expose us, but because they want us to grow. And they want everybody else to know that you're the best. And over the years, they will put you on the pedestal. Over the years, you will become their go-to person. They will always say, no, you don't have to come to me with this. Why don't you go to so and so? They will talk to someone in high authority. They will say, but no, so and so is capable of doing this. Why? Because we've trained them. So there are people who are training us, who are training you to be your best. And sometimes the training can be a bit tough, especially when we don't know what is happening. Then there's a third group of people. There are those who don't like you. There are those who don't like anything about you. And there are different reasons why they don't like you. Maybe you rub them the wrong way. Maybe you irritate the hell out of them by the manner you do things, by how you speak, by who you are. Maybe it could be jealousy. It could be many other things. But there are people, dear friends, who will not like you. Akusiyo wonke umuntu ozokuthanda. Akusiyo wonke umuntu who will celebrate you. Akusiyo wonke umuntu who will clap. Akusiyo wonke umuntu who will be like, wow, you the best. Akusiyo wonke umuntu who will be like that. And you've got to come to terms to that. Akusiyo wonke umuntu who wants to see you succeed. It could be from friends, from family, from work, from anywhere. And you've got to be okay with that. And thank God for those moments of realization, because they're allowing us to grow. They're allowing us to be better. Especially imagine if you had people like that at work. Every time you go to a meeting, in your mind, in your preparations, you've got to answer their questions. You've got to preempt what they will say and do and ask. And in your presentation, you've got to do it before they even ask you. And so you will become so great that you won't give them an opportunity to take you down. And so thank God for those people. Thank God for those experiences. Thank God for those challenges, because we are at our best. As I often say, nobody grows in their comfort zone. It is when we become uncomfortable that we grow. It's when we know that people are going to question what we say that we go and do more research. And it's when we know that people are going to take this out. They're going to throw it away. It's when we want to perfect it. And we're not just comfortable with reading it once, we read it twice, and we ask for referrals, and we read it again, and we change it, because we know there are people who are always going to criticize whatever we do. And so those people are also a blessing in our lives. And in this instant, as we are reflecting on Luke chapter 5, verse 17, that's what Jesus finds. And Jesus finds this when the Pharisees are there, when the teachers of the law are there, from people all over, from Galilee, from Judea, and from Jerusalem. But there's something so powerful. But also the hand of God was with him. God was always there. And the hand of God was with him for him to heal. uNkulunkulu akamshiyi umuntu wakhe. uNkulunkulu uhlezi nathi noma sidabula phansi kwethunzi lokufa. uNkulunkulu uhlezi nathi. And yes, sometimes we think people hate us. We think people don't like us. So we think abantu abasiphiwe. But uNkulunkulu is always there. Now, there's something very interesting. The hand of God was with him. And God had given him the power to heal. Khona leli verse elithi udeka itafula phambi kwezitha zami. And uNkulunkulu does that so often, so well, so great. He sets the table in the presence of my enemies. Uyalideka itafula phambi kwezitha zami zibhekile. Uyabona uNkulunkulu will do wonderful things in your life. Will do greater things in your life. In the presence of your enemies. In the presence of those who don't believe in you. In the presence of those who think you are a failure. In the presence of those who feel you are useless. And yet God will do greater things for you in your life. Let's go to verse 18. And behold, some men were bringing on a bed a man who was paralyzed, and they were seeking to bring him in and lay him before Jesus. Okay, but finding no way to bring him in because of the crowds, they went up onto the roof and let him down with his bed through the tiles into the midst before Jesus. There's something very interesting here. While Jesus is surrounded by all of these people, he's teaching. And there are men who are bringing their friend on a bed. And their friend is paralyzed. And they want to bring him before Jesus so that Jesus could heal him. But they could not do that because of the crowds. And so they decide they're going to take him to the rooftop. And through the tiles, they're going to lower him into the presence of Jesus. There's so much in those two verses. The first one for me, it's a group of men. And maybe I'll call them a group of friends. Or maybe a group of those who are concerned. But there's a group of people who worry about this man who's paralytic, who cannot do it for himself. There are people who worry about our well-being. There are people who care. There are people who want to see us succeed. There are people who want to see us better. Sometimes we don't believe that because of our own experiences. Sometimes we don't believe that because we still see the world through our own lenses. Sometimes we don't believe that because we still see the world through our own traumas. And we'll say, no, angimethembi mina umuntu wesilisa because ngiyamazi wenzani kuma. Angimethembi mina umuntu wesilisa because ngiyamazi wangenzani ngisemncane. Angimethembi mina umuntu wesifazane because I know what my mom did to me engishiya. So sometimes we are hidden, we are prevented from receiving the grace. Mhlambe umbuzo kufanele ngiyibuze wona ukuthi yini lena engivimba ukuthi ngamukele umusa kaNkulunkulu? What is preventing me so much from receiving the grace of God? Yini lena kumina lena engivimba ukuba ngamukele umusa kaNkulunkulu? There are people who want to be loved, but they cannot. It's like an ocean of love could be in their presence, and you can soak them in an ocean of love. They will still come out dry because their hearts are not ready. Their minds are not ready. They just shut down. Because they are still experiencing the new with the old. Go back to that beautiful text. The new wine with old wineskin. And the old wineskin will burst and the wine will be spilled. Because sometimes we must be honest with ourselves. Sometimes I must look at this new life and I must deal with the old lenses and realize that bakhona abantu who actually care, genuinely care. And they don't want anything from me. They don't want to gain anything or benefit anything. They just care because they are just good people. Now, we do not know who these men are that carry a paralytic. But we know that they are there, and we know that they care enough to take him to Jesus. And umbuzo that is important to me is, ubani wena okuthwalayo akise kuNkulunkulu? Ubani wena okuthwalisayo ayokubeka kuNkulunkulu? Ubani wena ohlala nawe akuvezele amandla kaNkulunkulu? Don't forget, dear friends, we need people who can carry us. We need people who are willing to journey with us. They got to Jesus, but because of the crowds, they couldn't place the man before him. So the crowds prevented them, as it were. The crowds became a hindrance. And they could have easily said, well, daughter, we've tried. Well, daughter, you can see, let's go back. I think one of the most painful things is to surround yourself with people who give up so easily. I think I get them strong then ukuba nabantu mabenze into zabo, they give it their best. Mabenze okwakho bayathuphuluza nje. Benze ukugcina icala. One of the most beautiful experiences is to have someone who loves you as they love themselves. Is to have someone who will take care of you as if they are taking care of their own lives. Because those people will never drop you. Because those people will always think of the best. Because one of the questions they need to ask themselves, if kubhlungu kumina, how much more kuwena? And so they are governed by this beautiful principle, do unto others what you would like them to do to you. And so they're not going to just drop you like a hot potato, but they're going to journey with you. They're going to sit with you. They may not fully understand everything, but they know that your pain is their pain. Your frustration is their frustration, just as your joy is their joy. Do you have someone? Do you have people like that who are able to carry you? And we don't need a lot. We don't need a lot. It could be 1 or 2 or 4 or 5. A small circle is all we need. And when I tell you, there are people who are genuinely there, who genuinely love us, and who genuinely want to see the best in us. Yes, their love language may not be as best as we would want it to be. Yes, their love language may not be as what our love language is, but in their own way, they're saying, I'm not going to leave you. Let me just give you a typical example. Ekuseni uyingane umncane, ekuseni kumnyama, ufuna ukuya esikoleni or uye emsebenzini, ubaba wakho osemdala or uma wakho omdala or whoever akuphelezele ephethe induku. What is induku to a gun? What is induku engozini yabantu abazonibamba inkunzi? But at least in their minds, they can protect you. In their minds, they want you to be the best. So sometimes abanye abantu, that's all they can offer. But they just want to make sure that you're fine. What also fascinates me about this is that they are not deterred by the crowds. They're not gonna walk away because of the crowds. So whatever comes as a hindrance, whatever comes as a burden, whatever comes to stop them, a normal person will say, no, we've tried, we've given our best. A normal person will say, but you could see, and these people say no. It's like you had a Thai puncher, and they pull over. They say, I don't have a spare wheel, but I'm going to be here with you for your protection. Oh, but we're going to take this tire and go and do something about it. I'm not leaving you here on your own. I'm not leaving you when you are down. And sometimes we need people like that. Also, I'm not leaving you. And more often we fight. And they say, Glungil, kota ngindawo. And the other question that one needs to ask, hlobo luni lwesixuku elungivimbayo? Hlobo luni lesixuku olungivimbayo? What is it that is preventing me from reaching Jesus, from reaching my goals, from succeeding? What is it that is preventing me from truly experiencing love? What is it that is preventing me from truly being happy? And that is important, because the crowds could be anything. Could be people, could be imagination, could be the hurt, could be the trauma, could be the fear, could be the guilt, could be disbelief, could be doubt, could be cynical, could be anything. So what is it that is preventing me? What is it that is preventing me from being the better version of myself? And how do I rise above that? How do I work around it? How do I not allow it to get the better of me? How? I like what they do. They climbed and they got to the rooftop. And now this is quite interesting, because it means they are going up to the rooftop with this man on a stretcher. That's a mission. But bazomthwala, they will carry him. They will say, let's get up there. Sometimes, dear brothers and sisters, there's one thing we must accept and acknowledge. The plans may change. The mission will change. But we'll get there. Sometimes along the way, izinto izoshintsha. But we'll still get there, because the goal is still the same. They cannot go back home nalendoda like this. That's the plan. We cannot take this person like this. We need this person to go back home healed, alive, back to himself. And sometimes plan A doesn't work. Plan B doesn't work. Plan C doesn't work. It doesn't matter what will work, but we're not going back without having sorted this problem. And you need people like that. Yabona abanye abantu bazokushiya when the going gets tough. When days are dark, they will leave you. But there are some who will not leave you. There are some who will stand by you. And maybe mhlambe nizolwa. Those who stand by you are not always going to be kind to us. Are not always going to be laughing. Because sometimes they need to realize, let's change the plan. Let's change the route. Let's do things differently. You know, I often say, you cannot do the same thing over and over again and expect different results. If I want different results, it means certain things must change. If I'm not happy ngempilo engiyiphilayo, certain things must change. And that's a reality yempilo zethu. And so they rip open the roof and they lower him and place him in the presence of Jesus. Uyasithwala. Uyakwazi ukusilethela abantu abakwazi ukusithwalisa. Uyakwazi ukusilethela abantu abakwazi ukuhlala nathi. Uyakwazi ukusilethela abantu abakwazi ukusekela. Because, dear friends, some days are hard. Some days are tough. Some days we need someone. Even when we ourselves think, "Anting muntu min." Sometimes we do. You know, sometimes you will find people say, "I didn't know I needed this, but thank you. Thank you for coming. I didn't know I needed this. Thank you for that phone call. I didn't know I needed this, but thank you. How did you know? How did you know I needed this?" And sometimes we don't know. But the Lord places these men and women into our place, into our lives. And sometimes these people change everything. They may not necessarily come up with brilliant suggestions, with brilliant solutions, but at least they are there. I so often look at Mary standing at the foot of the cross with John. They don't say much. They don't say anything at all. But that was enough for Jesus. Sometimes we need someone who stands by us. We don't need them to say a lot. We just need to know ukhona. We just need to know ula. Ubobuka ingane muyishiye empedeni ulele nayo. Mithi yavuka iyapaqhuza iyaqalaza ikubona empedeni, the first thing the child does ukhala. Because ingane feels ukuthi ayibo, I'm left alone here now. The first thing the child does is to realize ayibo, they've left me and I'm abandoned. And my dear brothers and sisters, how many of us are still stuck in that reality? Where we feel that we are abandoned. And sometimes we even have issues and we fight with people. And we say to them, but when you were never there for me, when you abandoned me in my time of need, when you left me when I needed you the most. And probably to realize the people never left. They were there. Mothers never leave. They're still in the room. They're doing something for you. Now, what also fascinates me is when they place him before Jesus. They placed him in his feet. And when Jesus saw their faith, he doesn't see the faith of the man, but he sees their faith, not the faith of a paralytic. When he saw their faith, he said, "Man, your sins are forgiven you." When I turned to me, this is something so deep. He was not healed by his own righteousness. He was healed, forgiven, because of the faith of the people who carried him. Yabona abanye bethu are living in what we call the answered prayers of our mothers, of our grandmothers, of our grandfathers, of our uncles. Siphilisa umusa kaNkulunkulu not because we've done well, but because they've done so well. Siphila ngomusa nemkhuleko yabo. Having seen their faith. Yabona ngiyaye ngithi kwesinye isikhathi when I'm talking to the parents dealing with their kids, because I think as parents we worry so much about our children. We want them to be good. We want them to be well bred. We want them to be the best. And I often say to them, yes, ingane izohlupha, yes, ingane izoba yingane. Kodwa one day your prayers for them will be the fruits they need to eat, to survive. Your prayers for them will save their lives. Your prayers for them will open the doors one day. Maybe not even your children, but your grandchildren. Seeing their faith, he was forgiven. Sometimes ithandwa zami kubalekile ukunderstanda ukuthi hlobo luni labantu olufaka empilweni yakho. Hlobo luni lwabantu olufaka empilweni yakho. Because those people could change your life. Yabona thandwa zami, in law there's something we call common good or common purpose. If uhamba nabantu beyontshontsha babulala umuntu, wena ubuhlele emotweni uzoba driver, now uzochargewa, because now uyingxenye yabo. If amaphoyisa enibopha usemotweni nabantu ekuthiwa bayasolwa ukuthi babulala umuntu, now uzoboshwa. That's why they say, show me your friends, I'll tell you your future. That's why they say friends of the same bird, of the same feathers, flock together. Birds of the same feather flock together. Akuve kubalekile ukunderstand ukuthi hlobo luni lwabantu ochitha isikhathi sakho nalo. Because they will determine your life. They will determine your future. Hlobo luni lwabantu ingane yami echitha isikhathi nabo. Kumina it's so crucial ukuthi if ukhona ofuna ukuvakashela ingane yami, amasno hlobo luni lomuntu engimletha la ekhaya. Uma efuna naye kumvakashela hlobo luni lomndeni ayakubona. It's crucial. What kind of people do I associate with? At work, at school, in the church. Because they will influence my thinking. They will influence my destiny. Yabona ithandwa zami, we know this very well and we know it so much. If you want to succeed, then you've got to choose your friends very well. Because you cannot say, I want to succeed, and stay with people who have no vision, no plans of success. It's going to become a mission, because that means you will always have to fight against it. It will never come naturally. This also speaks into relationships. Ungamshada umuntu just because unama good looks. No. You need more than good looks. Ingakho mhlawumbe kuthiwa ubuhle bendoda zinkomo zayo. No, you cannot just marry someone because, oh, he's so cute, oh, he smells nice, oh, he's so... No. I think one of the questions we should be asking while we are dating, or before we even date, is to say, what's your plan? Not what's your plan about me. What's your plan? Your plan. What do you want for yourself? Yabona abantu amabeza bezofuna ucela belobola ingane yami. One of the questions that I must sit down and ask them, I said, ngicela ningilethele umkhwenyana la, ngifuna ukuhlala naye. And I need to grill him. I need to ask him questions. If my son is going to marry you, I need to take this future daughter-in-law and say, what's your plan, my baby? Yes, you're all beautiful and I love it. What's your plan? What's your plan for yourself? Are you hungry enough to want to succeed? What's my plan? Gifunani. What do I want for myself? What do I want for my partner? What do I want for us? When I pray for us, what do I pray for? You cannot have someone who on ambition. Ashada umuntu othi hayi ngiright mina noma ngenzakalani mina ngifuna nje ukuyishadela ngihlalele ngibe nezingane. Is that it? Umshadeleni muhle and then thandwa zami ubuhle buyaphela. Engani nothando liyaphela nje emshadweni. Yaphela. And you soon realize when it's something more than just uthando. We need something more than just uthando. We need a commitment to each other. We need a commitment to our family. We need a commitment to a goal. We need a commitment into a common shared vision. We need that. We need to go beyond that. And so, seeing their faith, the people you bring into your life determines your future. Look at where you at in your life and look at the people in your life, and somehow you could predict your next 5 years. Because these people, the longer they stay, they will shape your thinking. The longer they stay, they will shape your goal. Seeing their faith, he forgave his sin. And the scribes and the Pharisees began to question, who is this who speaks blasphemies? Who can forgive sins but God alone? And when Jesus perceived their thought, he answered them, why do you question your heart? Which is easier to say, your sins are forgiven, or to say, rise and walk? But then, so that you may know that the Son of Man has authority on earth to forgive sins, he said to the man who was paralyzed, I say to you, rise, pick up your bed, and go home. And immediately he rose up before them, picked up what he had been lying on, and went home glorifying God. And amazement seized them all, and they glorified God and were filled with awe, saying, "We have seen extraordinary things today." There's so much in those verses. The Pharisees who were there, the critics who were there, will question, why are you so good? Why are you so great? Wenza ngani? Yabona khona into ebuhlungu ngabanye bethu thina abantu abamnyama. Khona omunye umuntu omnyama mayibona owebala ephumelela, kuthiwa usibanibani ave brilliant, usibanibani is so great, usibanibani ave nenhlanhla, usibanibani nje uyambona ukuthi u-intelligent. Kodwa kwekuphumelela umuntu omnyama, the first thing azoyisho, hayi lona uyithathile lento engenabungozi, lona uthwele. That is the slavery of the mind. Why makolunye uhlobo kube easy to celebrate and say, wow, these guys are brilliant, these guys are great, these guys are hard workers, these guys know their business, they know their story. But when it comes to abantu abamnyama, why the first thing we think of, uthwele? Why can't you celebrate ukuthi waze wa right loya baba, waze wa good loya ma, waze wayazi into yakhe? Why is it an issue for me to think umuntu omnyama uyakwazi ukusazi isimo sakhe? Why is it an issue for me to believe ukuthi umuntu omnyama can actually succeed? Yabona lento sometimes uyibona among professionals. Nango owebala nango mnyama. Abantu abamnyama are most likely, not always, not all of them, but are most likely to go kowebala, because abamthembi omnyama. Parakashongo lutho omnyama. And only to realize omnyama uyena oyaziyo lento. I know personally running a cause, okhona abebala who were reporting to me, by the way, and I knew more than they did. But la ngangikhona, people were more comfortable ukuya kowebala, and when they got stuck, they were referred to me, and I solved the issue. And I asked, but why? Not in a besijal nango was you besijal nango pet. Why is it hard for umuntu omnyama ukucabanga okuhle acabangele omunye umuntu omnyama? Kungani? So kunabantu who just cannot celebrate your success. And that's what these Pharisees are doing to Jesus. They're like, how can you do this? You're not God. How can you forgive sins? How can you say things like this? And Jesus says, but which one is easier? To say your sins are forgiven, or to say rise and take up your mat and go? But so that you believe, man, pick up your mat, walk. And the man did it. And the man did it. I have a motto that I have with my son, and I always say to him, kill them with success. All your critics, there's nothing you can do than to be successful. Let them hear about you, and they hear your success. Let them sheba you and hear your success. Let them come and view you and see your success. Let them listen and hear your success. Ayikho into ongayenza when dealing with critics than to be successful. Awenzeli bona, uzenzela wena. Just keep on climbing. Keep on rising. Keep on doing the best. Keep on being yourself. There will always be people against you, but do not stop who you are. There will always be people against you. Do not stop who you are. That's your word. There will always be people against you, but do not stop who you are. Kohlezi kunabantu abalwisana nawe. Ungayeki into enhle uNkulunkulu akubekele yona. Kohlezi kunabantu abalwisana nawe. Ungayeki into enhle uNkulunkulu akubekele yona. There will always be people who are against you. Don't stop who you are. Don't stop who you are because you want to please people. Do not stop who you are because you want to fit in. There will always be people who are against you, but do not stop who you are. That's the word for today. There will always be people who are against you, but don't stop who you are. Kohlezi kukhona abantu abalwisana nawe, kodwa ungayiyeki lento uNkulunkulu ayibekile kuwena. Ungayiyeki. Don't stop who you are. And the sooner you realize that, the happier your life becomes. There will always be people who fight. There will always be people who sees the worst in you. There will always be people who find blames. There will always be people who have something to say. There will always be people abafuna to take things out of context. There will always be people abafuna ukuthola enento abazoyisebenzisa. Just don't stop who you are. Kohlezi kunabantu abalwisana nawe. Kohlezi kunabantu abalwisana necebo likaNkulunkulu empilweni yakho. Kohlezi kunabantu ababona uCobo. Kohlezi kunabantu abathutha indaba ngawe. Kohlezi kunabantu abacreate content ngawe. Kohlezi kunabantu abahlala kuma boardrooms ngawe. Kohlezi kunabantu abathatha izinto bayoyipimpa ngawe. But just do not stop who you are. Don't. There will always be people who are against you, but don't stop who you are. That's the word for today. Don't stop who you are. Bohlezi bekhona. Bohlezi benithuka. Bohlezi benenzela zonke izinto ezimbi. They will twist your words. They will create things. They will exaggerate. And they will rent the crowds. Don't. Khona principle engisizayo mina anguphendula umbuzo mina engabuzwanga wona. And that has helped me throughout my priesthood, throughout my life. Anguphendule nje umbuzo engawubuzwanga futhi angi-entertain into engiyibona ukuthi ayingisindawo. Do not stop who you are. There will always be people who stand up against you, who want to destroy the good that God is doing in your life. And you must accept that and move away and move on. Do not be bitter. Do not be angry. It does not help you. Sikho isidingo. Sikho nje isidingo sokuthi uzulwisane nabo. Yabona ithandwa zami khona iprinciple engayifunda mina empilweni. Ungalwisani nohlanya futhi ungaliphelezeli uhlanya ekuhlanyeni kwalo. Let me say that again. Ungalwisani nohlanya futhi ungaliphelezeli uhlanya ekuhlanyeni kwalo. Ungalwisani nohlanya futhi ungaliphelezeli uhlanya ekuhlanyeni kwalo. Ngoba lona line experience lizokushaya, lizokubitha ekuhlanyeni kwalo. Line experience yokuhlanya, line ma terminologies zokuhlanya, line zinto zokuhlanya, linamakhona elwazi ukuthi mase kuhlanywa ke sihlanya kanje, mase kula sihlanya kanje. Ungaliphelezeli uhlanya lizokubitha. I'm not sure noma uyasezwana izulu sami. Ungaliphelezeli uhlanya ekuhlanyeni kwalo lizokuhlula ngeexperience. Khona nomuntu okhulumayo, ungamphelezeli umuntu okhuluma kakhulu. Une-experience lo muntu okhuluma. Ungamphelezeli uyapi? Ungamphelezeli. Une-experience lo muntu. Ngegama likaYise benendodana nomoya ocebileyo. Amen.